Hello, and welcome to Straight Talk about PTSD's second orientation presentation. Our subject this time is how do trauma memories affect people and their relationships. The first point I want to make is that PTSD is actually a natural, built-in program or set of adaptations which is designed to emerge to enhance our safety and survival whenever experience and memory show that we're living in a too unsafe world. At first, following trauma, we may try to ignore it, rationalize it, not talk about it, avoid people and places associated with it, and try to make it go away psychologically to minimize its effects upon our lives. But if traumatic experiences should reoccur and interconnect, once some invisible and utterly individual threshold of accumulated, interconnected trauma memory is reached, the unconscious, survival-oriented, low-road brain simply begins taking over from the rest of the brain. This low-road brain then starts intensely and automatically scanning the environment for signs of threat. It keeps our fight-flight stress chemistry high 24/7. It focuses us primarily on our safety and survival. It brings us fear and muscular tension whenever signs of previously experienced danger arise and trigger our trauma memories. In other words, the PTSD program tries to take over and adapt our way of perceiving the world, our emotional reactions and our behaviors, our relationship styles, and even our brains and our bodies to this inner world of living traumatic memory. There is no question that PTSD changes the brain. PTSD brain adaptations include empowered storage, that is, where trauma memories are literally stored with extra energy. These brain adaptations also include an enhancement of the structures that we use for rapid, easy access to intense memories, so they're more quickly triggered. PTSD brain adaptations also involve building up the fight, flight, freeze response structures and mechanisms in our brain, which are responsible for creating and maintaining the condition of hyperarousal. Hyperarousal means staying juiced up, stressed out, and on high alert 24/7. Now, one issue with hyperarousal is that chronic, extended hyperarousal then leads to another condition called hypofrontality. Hypofrontality involves an impairment or loss of cells, power, and functioning in the slower responding high road brain, which does our thinking, our emotion and impulse moderation, and our compassion. Again, this hypofrontality, this loss of voluntary, emotional, intellectual, executive control is primarily due to the effects of the constantly elevated stress chemistry of hyperarousal. Now, PTSD and similar responses to adverse experiences are all about helping a person stay automatically and constantly alert, on guard, and tense in order to quickly detect and react to danger, and thus survive and find safety in an inner and outer world now adapted to, dominated by, and run by the memories of our worst experiences. It is also critical to understand, with respect to relationships, that our social bonding chemistry, our sexual attraction chemistry, and our basic stress chemistry are largely released in the very same part of the primitive low-road brain. Also, these bonding, attraction, and stress chemicals are also generally released at the same time. Having social bonding and attraction chemistry tangled up with fear and stress chemistry can make our interpersonal lives a bit confusing and our attractions kind of problematic. That is, bonding most intensely to and being most energized or aroused by people who also endanger us, abuse us, frustrate us, stress us, or scare us. Reliably leads to relationship melodrama, instability, conflict, manipulation, betrayal, mistrust, dissatisfaction, and tragedy. This tangling of bonding chemistry with stress chemistry and the association of abusive or problematic people with bonding and attraction chemistry release is also why the natural post-traumatic effects of early life child abuse and neglect are frequently so devastating throughout the victim's lifespan. And once again, that's whether the victim can consciously recall these events or not. It makes no difference. Insecure attachment is what we call problematic patterns of attitude, mistrust, discomfort with intimacy, aggressive management of relationship partners by dominance, submissiveness, manipulation, and the avoidance of true intimacy and the presence of confusing relationship behavior. Insecure attachments, you often see, I hate you, come here. I love you, but I can't stay with you. Very confusing. Insecure attachment styles and behaviors naturally evolve out of early stress bonding associated with early relationship trauma, dangerous environments, abandonments, neglect, or inadequate parenting. I mean, when a child has no choice but to depend upon parents they did not choose, who scream and yell, who drink and drug, who they cannot truly or reliably trust and cannot influence or count upon, it's basically beyond any child's ability to resolve such dilemmas. Child's not in charge. Children in such situations are stuck in an inner and relational dilemma where unmet and intense needs for attention, connection, nurturance, and loving care are at war with painful, disappointing, and bitter experiences and memories. I mean, what are you going to do as a hungry, neglected infant? Go to the fridge and make a ham sandwich? What can you do as an abused and rejected toddler? Move out and get a job at McDonald's? Save up for a dependable used tricycle to get back and forth to work and preschool? No. You will adapt. You'll become what the environment needs you to be. You will adapt however you can and however you must to get whatever you can of what you need from where and with whom you are stuck. Now, many a dysfunctional and unsatisfying adulthood is made up of carried over patterns of relating, coping, surviving, meeting needs, minimizing distress, and in general, how you made the best you could out of a grossly suboptimal early environment. Not being adequately attended to, cared for, and cared about isn't simply unpleasant. It is traumatic. Your safety and survival as a dependent child will feel, and may objectively be, at risk. With insecure attachment, again, these dysfunctional patterns of relating to other people and the living memories which create and maintain insecure attachment, well, these are often present in people who become victimized and traumatized again later in life. They're also prevalent in persons who victimize other people, and insecure attachment is extremely common in people who are at risk for PTSD. For example, in one Army study, they found that following deployment and looking at new cases of PTSD only, 94% of the new cases of PTSD were from people who reported insecure attachment, and only 6% of new cases of PTSD were reported for people who also reported secure, which is healthy attachment. I mean, insecure attachment reflects a person's difficulty of resolving the puzzle of needing others, but being able to find comfort, trust, peace or faith in intimacy with others. When one cannot obtain, tolerate, adapt to, or digest what all human beings are hungriest for, which is intimate attention, connection, and closeness to others, a person lives in a tough, lonely, and intensely conflicted mental and emotional space. There is no lasting peace in the valley of insecure attachment. Early established insecure attachment memories and behaviors also corrupt a person's capacity to later use healthy social support to prevent predation. I mean, predators don't generally attack people who are standing in a crowd of committed friends. Also, these memories and these styles of relating to other people keep you from being able to minimize the effects of trauma if it happens, or to recover from PTSD should it develop following trauma. Comorbidity. Comorbidity is a big word, and it's a massive issue with chronic PTSD. Comorbidity refers to any additional health conditions which routinely go along with some specific condition. PTSD very, very rarely travels alone. Mental health and physical health comorbidities with PTSD often run well over 90% in research samples with chronic PTSD. And I don't know a single one of those studies, frankly, which even includes all the known comorbidities for PTSD. The number is probably in the mid to high 90s. In any event, the greater the number and severity of comorbidities in any post-traumatically adapted individual, the greater will be the severity of both the PTSD symptoms and the comorbid condition symptoms. PTSD and comorbid conditions like depression and alcohol abuse simply make each other and life worse than either alone. And even more importantly in some respects, the greater the number and severity of comorbidities, the more complicated and more lengthy treatment will need to be, and the more likely a person is to either prematurely drop out of or fail to improve at government-sponsored and insurance-approved PTSD treatments. And just by the way, according to the best research we have so far, the most common number of just mental health comorbidities for a person with chronic, meaning long-term PTSD, is 3. Not 1, 3. So it gets complicated. That's life, that's treatment. I hope you feel you benefited from this straight talk about PTSD presentation, and will choose to view our upcoming presentation about PTSD treatment. If you'd like to become a Straight Talk About PTSD subscriber, just hit the button below. And if you'd like to be notified when Straight Talk About PTSD presentations are first posted, just press on the bell icon below as well. Thank you, and I will see you next time.